The blizzard slammed into Detroit like a hammer from the heavens. Wind howled between the broken houses, and snow fell so hard it erased the world beyond the porch light. Inside one of those crumbling homes, 72-year-old Dorothy Washington stood by her frosted window, clutching a chipped mug of instant coffee. Through the foggy glass, she could barely make out 9 motorcycles buried halfway in snow. The riders, massive men in leather, stood on her porch, shivering, their beards stiff with ice. Their eyes held desperation. Dorothy's arthritic hands hovered over the deadbolt. Her heart thumped like a drum. She knew what men like this could do, if they wanted. But she also knew one thing even more clearly. Out there, in that kind of cold, they wouldn't last the night. If she kept the door locked, they'd die. If she opened it, she might not live to see morning. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Lord, what do I do?" Dorothy's house had seen better days, just like the neighborhood around it. Peeling paint clung to the siding like old skin. Rain had warped the floors. The furnace coughed and rattled like an old man gasping for air. She survived on her $1,200 Social Security check, stretching it until it nearly tore. Her groceries cost $47 a week, and she carried a calculator in her purse, so she wouldn't go over. Some nights, she skipped her diabetes medicine just to make sure she had enough left for breakfast. Still, she carried herself like a soldier's widow should. Her late husband, Robert, had served in Vietnam, and Dorothy never let anyone forget it. His American flag still flew above the porch, even though half the shingles around it were missing. At night, she prayed by the light of a single bulb. "Lord, I've made it this far," she'd whisper. "Just let me make it through another winter." When the furnace finally died that March evening, it gave one last sigh, then silence. Dorothy layered on sweaters, rubbing her hands together for warmth. Outside, the wind screamed against the house. She turned on her old CB radio, the only thing still working when the cell towers froze. Static filled the room, then faint voices. "Bikes won't start. Roads blocked. Need shelter. Fast." The voices were close. Then pounding on her front door. Heavy, urgent. Dorothy's pulse raced. She shuffled closer, peering through the glass. 9 huge silhouettes filled her porch, snow swirling around them. "Ma'am," a deep voice called through the wind. "I'm sorry to bother you, but our bikes are dead. We just need shelter till morning. We won't be any trouble. Please." Her fingers trembled on the lock. Everything inside her screamed to stay quiet, pretend she wasn't home. But her husband's voice echoed in her memory. "When a man's down, you help him up. That's just what decent folks do." She whispered, "Lord, if this is how I go, let it be helping somebody." And she turned the deadbolt. The door swung open. The cold hit her face like a slap, and 9 men stepped inside, stomping snow off their boots. "Thank you, ma'am," the leader said, removing his helmet. His hair was gray, his eyes steady. "We won't forget this." Dorothy swallowed hard. "Kitchen's the warmest room," she said. "I'll make some coffee." The men moved with surprising order. No chaos, no shouting. One of them called out, "Sound off." "Any injuries?" "Frostbite, Sergeant. Nothing serious." "Good. Check the perimeter." Dorothy froze. "Sergeant?" These weren't gang members. They spoke like soldiers. Within minutes, 2 men were in her basement examining the furnace, another checking her smoke detectors. One quietly looked at her medication bottles. "Ma'am," he asked gently, "when's the last time you had a full meal?" Dorothy blushed. "I eat fine." "Yes, ma'am," he said, smiling softly. "I bet you do." They drank instant coffee, like it was fine wine, thanking her after every cup. The leader introduced himself simply as Eagle. "Mist," he said, shaking her frail hand. "We'll make sure you're safe tonight." 20 minutes later, warmth flowed through the vents again. "Igniter was dead," one man reported. "We fixed it up temporary." Dorothy stood speechless. "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing, ma'am," Eagle said. "Neighbors help neighbors." When she insisted, he just smiled. "Ma'am, we don't take payment for doing what's right." They organized a night watch, rotated sleeping shifts, and refused her couch. "You take your bed, ma'am. We're good here." At 3 a.m., Dorothy woke to find Eagle still awake, sitting by the window. "All quiet, ma'am," he whispered. "We've got you covered." For the first time in years, Dorothy felt safe. By morning, the storm had broken. The men cleaned her floors, fixed her broken cabinet, and checked the wiring before they left. Eagle handed her a small keychain with an eagle emblem engraved on it, and CVT. "My call sign," he said. "If anyone ever bothers you, show them this." Anyone. Then he saluted her, a perfect, sharp military salute. The others followed. Dorothy stood stunned as 9 bikers saluted an old widow like she was their commander. When she tried to thank him, Eagle just said, "Ma'am, you saved 9 lives last night. In our world, that matters. After they rode off, Dorothy found her home spotless. Even her old coffee pot gleamed. Someone had stacked firewood behind the house and fixed her broken streetlight. Over the next few days, odd things started happening. Her garbage bins were neatly returned after collection for the first time in years. The local drug dealers disappeared. Groceries appeared on her porch with a note that read, "From grateful friends." One morning, a small American flag stood planted in her front garden. She hadn't put it there. The local news ran a story about a veterans motorcycle club cleaning up Detroit neighborhoods. The logo on their jackets? The same eagle she held on that keychain. Dorothy finally picked up the phone and dialed the number Eagle had given her. Colonel James Morrison speaking. Her voice trembled. "Colonel, this is Dorothy Washington." Silence. Then warmth. Ma'am, I was hoping you'd call. How's that furnace holding up?" "Who are you really, Colonel?" she asked. He chuckled softly. "Ma'am, I guess I owe you the truth. My full name's Colonel James Eagle Morrison, U.S. Army, retired. Served 28 years, last commanded the 75th Ranger Regiment. Medal of Honor, 3 Purple Hearts." Dorothy nearly dropped the phone. "And the men with you?" "All decorated veterans, ma'am. Navy SEALs, Marines, medics. Every one of them." Dorothy's voice cracked. "Heroes?" "No, ma'am." "You're the hero. You saved 9 men who've seen too much darkness. That night reminded us what we were fighting for." Then his tone changed. "Mist, I learned something else. Your husband, Robert Washington, served in Vietnam, didn't he?" "Yes," she whispered. "He saved my mentor's life in 1968. Sergeant William Martinez. Robert got him out under fire. If your husband hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here today." Tears filled Dorothy's eyes. "Ma'am," Morrison said softly, "that night wasn't a coincidence. It was Robert's spirit taking care of his own." Dorothy wept silently as Morrison continued. "Every veteran in our network knows who you are now. We call you Eagle's Nest. You're under our protection always." Then he made her an offer that changed everything. "My construction company, veteran-owned, is going to rebuild your home. Roof, furnace, plumbing, all of it. You'll stay with my family during the renovation." "Colonel, that's too much." "Ma'am, you earned it. You're also eligible for widow's benefits. $2,847 a month and $68,000 back pay. Our VA specialist already processed it." Dorothy gasped. "And one more thing," Morrison added. "We'd like you to be the den mother for our club. $500 a month. You just do what you do best. Take care of folks." She could barely speak. "We're also flying your daughter and grandkids in from California," he said. "And your son's getting leave from deployment. They'll all be here to see your new home." Dorothy pressed the phone to her heart. "I don't know what to say." "Just say yes, ma'am," Morrison replied gently. "Because when you opened that door, you didn't just save us. You gave us purpose again." 6 months later, Dorothy's neighborhood looked reborn. Her once crumbling house gleamed white with navy blue trim. A garden bloomed out front, and her porch became the heart of the block. Veteran families filled nearby homes. The streets were safe again. Crime had dropped by 67%. Local kids called her Grandma. Dorothy, now stronger than ever, had finished her GED and was earning her peer counseling certificate. Her basement had become a counseling center for veterans struggling to adjust to civilian life. Every Sunday, her kitchen hosted family dinners for 50 people, veterans, neighbors, and strangers who just needed warmth. News stations told her story nationwide. Documentaries followed her daily routine. But fame never changed her. She still started each morning the same way, with prayer and a cup of coffee. Exactly 1 year later, another storm swept through Detroit. At 8:15 p.m., the same time as before, there was a knock at Dorothy's door. This time, she smiled. A young couple stood outside, shivering with a baby in their arms. Their car had died in her driveway.
"Come in," Dorothy said.
"You're safe here." The man, trembling, said, "Ma'am, we're so sorry to bother you. Our baby's cold and—" Dorothy interrupted softly. "No need to apologize. You did exactly the right thing." Within an hour, Colonel Morrison and his team arrived. The family, Miguel, a veteran, Maria, a nursing student, their baby, were taken care of. Apartment furnished. Job secured. Medical care arranged. When Miguel tried to thank Dorothy, she smiled. "Just help the next person who needs it. That's how kindness grows." Later that night, as snow blanketed Detroit once again, Dorothy stood by her window looking out at the peaceful neighborhood. The CB radio crackled behind her. Eagle's Nest secure. All quiet. Dorothy smiled. "Roger that." She looked at Robert's photo on the mantle and whispered, "We did good, didn't we, baby?" And for the first time in decades, she didn't feel alone. Because Dorothy Washington, an ordinary widow with extraordinary courage, had proven something timeless. You don't need power or money to change the world. You just need the courage to open your door when someone needs help. If this story touched your heart, share it. Because somewhere out there, someone's waiting for their own Dorothy Washington, someone brave enough to answer the knock.